What's going on, guys? Rio Orlando here with another episode of Inside the Arts. Switching it over to YouTube now. I hope you guys enjoy. Phenomenal card we have coming up, UFC 235. Honestly, this card is stacked from top to bottom. Even in the preliminary card, we have Diego Sanchez versus Mickey Gall. That should be a good fight. Really excited to see Mickey Gall back in there and Diego Sanchez. This has potential to be a war. Picking Mickey Gall on this one for sure. Just think he's the younger, more athletic, just more determined fighter at this point. Actually, I shouldn't say more determined. There's no one more determined than Diego Sanchez, but I think he's more determined to get his name out there and to propel himself into the top 15 of that welterweight division. That should be a good fight. Cody Stamann versus Alejandro Perez. Stamann's coming off that rough loss to Aljamain Sterling with that knee bar. And what's interesting about that night is Aljamain and Zabit both submitted their opponents by knee bar, which was... We don't ever see knee bar submissions in the UFC, but we saw 2 in one night, so I thought that was pretty interesting. And then Misha Cirkunov versus Johnny Walker. The real question here is, how is Johnny Walker going to be able to deal with Misha Cirkunov's takedown abilities? Now, Johnny Walker is a super explosive guy, and we saw that in his last fight with that knockout and that spinning back fist, and that was only a month ago, that knockout. So Johnny Walker's good. He's definitely going to be one of the rising stars in the light heavyweight division if he can pass this test. Now, Misha Cirkunov is no slouch, and we have seen his chin get rattled a couple of times, whether it was from Glover or whether it's from Vulcan. So I can see Johnny Walker knocking him out, but I'd be curious to see if this hits the ground, how this plays out. So I'm going to pick Johnny Walker via KO round 1, but who knows? We'll see what happens in that fight. Very interested to see that. The next fight, we have Zabit Magomedsharipov, a.k.a. Abe motherfucking Lincoln. Have you ever seen him? He looks like Abe Lincoln, but I love Zabit. One of my favorite fighters to watch. Honestly, if not my favorite fighter to watch. I really love watching that guy fight. I can't say enough good things about him. And really the tale of the tape of that one is Jeremy Stephens going to be able to deal with the precise striking techniques of Magomedsharipov, and how is he going to be able to deal with the timing of Zabit? I definitely think Jeremy Stephens is the slower fighter here, so I could see Zabit really picking him apart from the outside. I think he has at least a 3 or 4 inch reach advantage. I mean, the guy is 6'1", fighting at 145 pounds, so he is an absolute freak. But Zabit's chin has got rattled a couple of times. I wouldn't say rattled, but he did get hit in the chin by Bochniak, and that was a very interesting fight. So I think the more you make it a brawl, the better chance you have at winning, and Jeremy Stephens is the king at making fights a brawl. We saw that when he fought Dennis Bermudez back at UFC 189. He likes to engage in those kind of fights, so we'll see what happens with that. Now, for the main card of UFC 235, we have Cody Garbrandt facing Pedro Munoz. Now, Munoz is coming off that TKO win over Brian Caraway. He's on a 2-fight win streak at the moment, and he has one of the best guillotines in MMA. He's submitted Justin Scoggins, Rob Font, Russell Deween. I think his best chance to really win this fight is if it hits the ground. I'm not saying his striking is bad, but he does tend to wing his hooks a lot, and on the reset, he does drop his hands where I could see Cody capitalizing on that. So Cody, I definitely think, is the better boxer here. Not gonna get that mistaken. Pedro Munoz has heavy hands, but I think Cody hits harder, and I think he's got more technical boxing. So I think that Cody does have the better wrestling and the boxing, but what Cody has to really watch out for here is if he decides to shoot, which we haven't seen him shoot as of recent, but I'm saying if he decides to shoot on Munoz, he's got to put his head right in his chest. He can't leave it to any side because Munoz will snatch up a guillotine, and he very well could submit him because Munoz's guillotine is nasty. We saw him do a breakdown with Henner Gracie, and Henner Gracie doesn't just bring someone on to, I don't know, to show him off. He really thought that he has one of the best guillotines in MMA, and by Henner Gracie, he actually said that he has the best guillotine in MMA. So do have to watch out for that. Cody has a 1-inch reach advantage, but it doesn't really matter because Cody likes to bang in the pocket. So I expect Cody to be more composed and calculated after his last 2 losses to TJ. He just got too aggressive when he thought TJ was hurt, and it really decided those 2 fights. I mean, he just came out too aggressive, and TJ was able to capitalize on those mistakes because of him being too aggressive. He overextended, then boom, TJ clipped him with that head kick, and then in the next fight, he hit him with that right hand, I believe. So does have to be careful of that, but I expect him to be more calculated after the last fight. he does have to be careful not to be too aggressive and waste all of his energy trying to get a finish. Typically, when he clips his opponents, he goes balls to the wall to try to get a finish. I'd like to see him kind of sit back a little bit and not waste all his energy in those first couple of minutes if he's able to clip him. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Munoz has to watch out for Cody's right hand because it is a piston. If he ever extends on any of his punches or if he drops his hands at all, he does leave his chin open, and Cody will connect on that. Cody is definitely the better overall striker and wrestler. People forget he won a state championship in Ohio as a freshman and a runner-up as a sophomore. Now, those of you that aren't familiar with wrestling, like I am, there are really 5 states that put out the best products for wrestling and the 5 states that have the most competitive state championships. Those are being New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, California, and Ohio. So those are the states for wrestling, and for him to win as a freshman is unbelievable. And he quit to box amateur, and he went 32-0, which is super impressive. But his uncle was also an Olympic alternate, so great teacher there for Cody. Anyways, I think that Cody's going to win. He is a master counter striker. He can capitalize on some mistakes that Munoz does with his hands. He does overextend and tends to loop his hooks a lot. So Cody, I'm going to pick him winning via unanimous decision. I think this is a good fight to get Cody back in the mix. His timing is better, his speed is better, and his wrestling and boxing are just better. The only thing he really doesn't have on him is, I'd say, the jiu-jitsu. Just because Munoz has that nasty guillotine. I'm not saying he's any sort of world-class jiu-jitsu practitioner. I believe he is a black belt, honestly. But I just think that if Cody is not careful, he can get snatched up by a guillotine there. So we'll see how that one plays out. But yes, I'm picking Cody. Now, the next fight is a very exciting fight. We have Torres versus Weili Zhang. Now, Weili Zhang is not ranked, but she is fighting the number 6 opponent in the strawweight division right now. That's because Weili Zhang is a fucking animal, okay? She has won her 18 fights in a row. Out of her 18 fights, she's submitted and finished, whether it's TKO, KO, or submission, 16 of those opponents. That's unheard of in the strawweight division. It's unheard of for women to really be doing that. Not trying to be sexist or anything like that, but you don't see a lot of women getting knockouts and a lot of finishes unless you're Cyborg or Amanda Nunes. So it's just really impressive. That's like the one thing that really stands out to me about Weili Zhang is her finishing rate. It's really impressive. She's got something like an 80-something% finish rate. So Zhang is 2-0 in the UFC. She is currently on an 18-fight win streak, like I said. She really is amazing, and I think she is the face of Chinese MMA. Now, Zhang is a very good everywhere. She has great grappling, which we saw her against Jessica Aguilar. She was able to take her down up against the cage, and then she was able to impose her will on her. She got her in a triangle, readjusted on it, threw some elbows, then boom, got the finish there. So Jessica Aguilar is no slouch either, and that's the thing that I think is so impressive about Zhang. She is a purple belt, but I think her grappling is way above her belt level. I'll just say that. So Zhang just really impresses me with her distance control. She understands where she can hit you and where you can't hit her. She has great lateral footwork. She has the ability to move in and out of harm's way, to strike effectively when in the pocket, and to not get hit while in the pocket. So Zhang is just very diverse. She's got very effective striking from elbows to head kicks to punches. She really incorporates everything well, and she throws it all so precise. The technique on her striking is really flawless. I believe her background is in Muay Thai and in kickboxing, so she's got really a well-rounded striking game. And her grappling is great too, like I was saying before. Now, Torres looked good against Joanna, but had trouble closing the distance and dealing with Joanna's volume. Now, Tisha, what she's been doing a lot of the times is she's been finishing up her combinations with a takedown, which can get her into trouble against Zhang, because Zhang will piece her up in the clinch with some knees, with some elbows, and I think Tisha will definitely waste some energy trying to get takedowns on Zhang, and we saw her do that against Joanna, and she was very unsuccessful in those attempts. Now, Tisha's no slouch by any means. She's got phenomenal cardio. She's always physically in great shape. And she is a 4-time amateur world kickboxing champ. However, I just don't think that her striking is anywhere near Zhang. I wouldn't say anywhere near, but I think that Zhang just throws just so many more effective techniques. She really has techniques from all different martial arts, and she really implements them into her game plan. She'll throw a punch, she'll throw a combination, she'll get you coming forward, and she'll throw a high kick. She's very, very good at throwing the right technique for that appropriate situation. So I think that Torres does have a chance here. She does have good hands, and she comes in aggressive. She throws a lot of volume, which she did throw a lot of volume on Joanna. And we haven't really seen Zhang tested with a volume striker. She fought Danielle Taylor and Jessica Aguilar, but they weren't really volume strikers. Danielle Taylor did clip her with a couple of right hands, but Zhang really stole that one away. But overall, I think that I'm going to go with Zhang winning this one. More well-rounded striker, and if Torres tries to bully her and get her up against the cage, she's in trouble. Even if she gets Zhang down, Zhang is great off her back and dominant on top if she takes her down. Zhang has a 3-inch reach advantage and controls distance really well with her leg kicks and side kicks. She really mixes the two up well to control distance and to really just slow you down. She really gets you to guess She makes you guess every time she throws something. You never really know what she's going to throw. I just think Zhang has more tools, and the world will know Weili Zhang's name after that night because she is one of the most impressive fighters in the strawweight division and one of the most impressive female fighters I have seen. Zhang, I mean, her kicks, like I said, are phenomenal. She really controls distance with that side kick. So I just think that Tisha is not going to want to come in forward. I think that Zhang's going to be able to control the distance with those kicks. And Tisha can explode. Like I said, she throws a lot of volume, but I think it can get her into trouble. She'll leave herself open for some opportunities to get hit by Zhang. So that should be a good fight. Now, the next fight, this is the fight that most MMA fans are really looking forward to, and this is Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren. This is the first time that not even the co-main event may be getting more attention than the main and co-main event, which, mind you, are both big, big title fights. So, Robbie Lawler and Ben Askren. Let me just go down Ben Askren for the fans who don't know who Ben Askren is. He is a Bellator and ONE FC champion. He defended it multiple times. He is actually 18-0 with that one no contest against Luis Santos, which maybe Luis Santos would have won that one, but since it was an eye poke, an unintentional eye poke, the fight ended. Overall, Ben Askren is one of the best wrestlers in America. He is a 4-time All-American. He's made it to 4 national championships, winning 2. He won the Hodge Trophy his junior year. He probably should have won it his senior year because he went undefeated junior and senior year. And he's just funky. That's his nickname, the Funk, because he just used to make up moves in college. I used to love watching Ben Askren wrestle when I was younger because you never knew what the fuck he was going to do. He just used to invent moves on the spot. So that's who Ben Askren is as a wrestler. He's got a 153-8 record overall with 91 falls, which is unbelievable because that's third all-time in the NCAA Division I list, pin list, I should say. So I'd say overall, Ben Askren has the most effective striking in all of MMA, right there with Khabib and Tatiana Suarez. Those are the 3 that really use their wrestling the best out of anyone I've ever seen in the UFC, or in any MMA organization, I should say. So he was traded for Mighty Mouse, and just the people that he's beat. He's beaten Douglas Lima, Jay Heron, Lyman Good. Those are really the 3 biggest names on his record. But he's fought a lot of people in ONE FC who are high-level people. I just don't necessarily know who all of them are yet. I'll get in more into ONE FC as the weeks come on because there are going to be some good fights there. I think they're having Sage Northcutt fight, that world-class Muay Thai fighter that they have in their organization. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But he lost to Nicky Holskin. He's no joke, that guy. So I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I don't remember. But anyways, Lawler is his toughest opponent yet. Lawler has stopped takedowns from Johnny Hendricks, who's also a 2-time national championship, and it won him that second fight, Lawler. So his ground and pound is vicious, Lawler. His striking is really not horrible, Ben Askren, but really his game plan is to just clinch up with you and somehow grab a body part, either shoot for a low single, a nice Smith single, and to just grab any body part, and he will be able to take you down, which we've seen so many times. And if you're able to stuff his takedowns, definitely will play into Robbie Lawler's advantage. However, he doesn't even get hit a lot, Ben Askren, necessarily, so I think that we'll see in that first minute or so if Robbie Lawler's able to hit him with a couple of hooks, because I definitely think that Robbie Lawler's the better striker here by far, and I think that Askren can get into some trouble if he drops his head to try to shoot him for a takedown, because Robbie has those ruthless uppercuts, and he can put you out. So he's always working on his grappling, Ben Askren. He even won a world championship in BJJ, if I'm not mistaken, in the blue belt division. So anyways, I'm just going to put it out there that some of you might get frustrated by his style, but I personally love it. He really is phenomenal. He's only lost twice in BJJ competition, and if he gets you down, you're in a world of shit. However, Lawler is no scrub, and Lawler is the better striker, and he can stuff some takedowns. But the thing is this. If Askren grabs a leg or any side of a body part and he's not able to get you down, he'll readjust to another body part or he'll reshoot, and he will take you down 99.9% of the time. Only time we really saw him in trouble was when he fought Luis Santos, who was a black belt in BJJ and judo. Really is a high level grappler that Robbie is not. I'm not saying Robbie's a slouch on the ground, but he's not as high level of a grappler as Luis Santos, which Santos stuffed a lot of his takedowns and kept it standing. He even got the better of him in some grappling exchanges. The fight was off because of the no-cons, because of that eye poke, but Askren had some trouble with Luis Santos' kicks, so I'd expect Lawler to incorporate some of those, but the problem is if Lawler starts throwing a lot of leg kicks or kicks in general, it gives Askren an opportunity to catch those kicks and to capitalize on them. So I do think that Lawler will be hesitant to throw those leg kicks, but that's how Luis Santos was able to almost get the better of Ben Askren. If he takes you down, he's ferocious. He does not stop moving or advancing on you, I should say, if he gets you down. So yeah, that's my breakdown of Ben Askren. Now for Robbie Lawler, former welterweight champ, defended the belt twice in some of the best fights of all time against Rory and Carlos Condit. He's just ferocious. He doesn't stop moving forward, which leaves him open for takedowns. Usually when he gets taken down, however, he does stand back up. That will not happen against Ben Askren. So I do think it takes a little bit away from his game, that he's not going to be able to be as aggressive as he usually is. He is coming off a loss to Arde, who just put a pace and pressure on him that he couldn't keep up with. However, he did injure his knee in that fight, and he has not fought since. So it's good that he's fully recovered, and he's going to be 100% in this fight. Now, Lawler really does wing a lot of heavy, nasty hooks, and he's nasty in the dirty boxing exchanges. You saw him when he fought Cowboy. He really had him in some trouble in that first round. Lawler is just ferocious, and I think that if Askren does not take him down those first couple of minutes, Lawler has potential to knock him out or to get a finish there, because Lawler really is ruthless, and he's got power in his hands. Not necessarily one-touch knockout power, but he just hits so hard, and all those punches add up after a while. And we saw against Rory McDonald that it really wore down on him towards the end of that fight, and he just couldn't continue, which I don't blame him. I would have stopped after the fucking first time Robbie Lawler hit me. But that's also why I'm not a professional fighter. If it turns into a brawl, you got to favor Lawler. I don't think that Askren's going to want to engage in a brawl at all. I'm sure he'll get clipped a couple of times coming in shooting for a takedown, but I don't think he's going to want to engage in a brawl. Lawler can make this an ugly fight, but he's going to have to stuff those takedowns at will. I do think, like I said, we'll be hesitant to throw kicks because of the threat of the takedown. But honestly, he's never been a submission fighter, so if he gets taken down, I expect him to stay in trouble really the entire time of that round. He could get back up to his feet, but not likely. Askren is one of the best top wrestlers in the world, in all honesty, and definitely the best top wrestler in MMA. Him and Khabib are for sure. So overall, I think that Askren's going to win. I think if he shoots and misses, he'll reshoot or readjust and will take you down. Robbie can make it interesting if he keeps it standing for an extended amount of time, but if Askren takes you down, he will keep you there and will inflict damage from top. Lawler can win if he can avoid grappling at all costs and can sit on the outside to kind of really just circle around Askren so he can land some shots on him. But overall, I think that Askren's going to win. I think he's going to take him down, and he's just going to be in a world of shit against him. Now, the next fight. This is a title fight. We have Kamaru Usman versus Tyron Woodley. First things first, Colby Covington did deserve the shot. Not a big fan of Colby Covington, but the last two people that Kamaru Usman beat, Colby Covington beat before him, so where the fuck... That doesn't add up. But anyways, that's just how the UFC works, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. But this is honestly a better fight. I think this will be a more competitive fight. But Usman... He was on that Tough 21. He won Tough 21 when it was ATT versus Black Zillions. Black Zillions won that season, but in the long run, ATT won. There's no more Black Zillions. They're all training with Henry Hoof now. But Usman is a three-time Division II All-American. He is a national champion in 2010. Not D1, but it's still super, super impressive. He's on a 13-fight win streak right now. He's 9-0 in the UFC. He's beaten so many fucking killers. He's beaten Leon Edwards, Warley Alves, Emil Meek, Damian Maia, Rafael Dos Anjos in his last fight. He does have the 2-inch reach advantage, and he is definitely the bigger man here. Not like that necessarily matters, but just to throw that out there for you guys. Now, he likes to keep fights close. He likes to keep them really... He likes to put his head in your chest, and he likes to grind. However... You do not want to get Tyron Woodley up against the cage because he can uncork that right hand at any minute. Now, a lot of fighters, your coaches will tell you, don't back up into the cage because that's when you're in danger. It's really the opposite for Tyron Woodley. Once he's backed up against the cage, that's when he starts to unload that right hand, when he really sets a trap up for you in either side of the cage. So he does have to be careful of that. What can be an issue is if he moves in too quick on Woodley. Woodley can counter with a right hand. He has to be careful backing Woodley up against the cage, like I said, because when he's cornered, that's when he unloads that right hand, which we saw with Wonderboy twice, and what we saw when he fought Damian Maia, and what we saw against Darren Till. It's a lot of these game-changing strikes have come when he's in his back's up against the cage. He's got very, 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 very hard striking overall, Kamaru Usman. However, I do think that Woodley has the power advantage here. Usman, he does have heavy hands, but I just think that Woodley does have the power advantage in this one. Usman's got pretty good kickboxing. He mixes his kickboxing really well with his wrestling, which makes him as deadly as he really is. But the problem is, a big part of his game is the wrestling, and if Woodley's able to stuff his takedown, that takes away a big part of his game. He would then have to rely more on his striking, which definitely could make it difficult for Usman to connect with Woodley without overextending and leaving himself open for that right hand. Woodley is great at circling to your weak side and staying patient, then he unloads that right hand. So I think that if he's not able to get Woodley down, which I personally don't think he will, I think that it definitely plays towards Woodley's advantage, absolutely, because that's a big part of his game, is incorporating the wrestling with the kickboxing. And we saw against Rafael dos Anjos, that was a big part of his game. He would strike to get in close to Rafael. Then he would shoot him for a takedown, and that was really the story of that fight. He just kept taking him down, throwing in a couple of kicks here and there, just really mixing it up and keeping Rafael dos Anjos off balance, and was able to take him down a bunch of times in that fight. Now, he's got very crafty elbows in the clinch. I expect him to throw some in the clinch with Woodley against the cage if he's able to back him up and if they're able to clinch up against the cage. He is a pressure fighter, and really the tail of the tape of this one is pressure fighter versus master counter striker. The thing is, you make one mistake on Woodley, he'll counter and he'll knock you out. So you always have to be careful of that. He does tend to drop. Usman tends to drop his hands and leave himself open when striking in the pocket. He left himself open versus RDA, but he couldn't capitalize on it just because he lacks that power that some of these bigger welterweights have, like Tyron Woodley. He's got to fight tighter. He can't overextend. He's got to just stay nice and tight, because otherwise Woodley will capitalize that. He can't overextend and throw too many shitty punches. Not like they're all going to be shitty. I'm not meaning it like that. I'm just saying he can't really just throw a punch to throw it. You always got to keep your guard up. You always got to be careful, because Woodley can knock you out. His confidence in his hand builds when he lands a couple of takedowns, but I think his confidence will be rattled because he's not going to be able to take Woodley down. Now, Usman's cardio, that's never really necessarily a question. His last two fights have all been 5-round fights, and he's looked great in them. The last fight against Rafael dos Anjos, he kept that pace on him all throughout 5 rounds. He won Performance of the Night that night. And versus Damian Maia, he just got the better of the grappling exchanges and landed some strikes when they were standing. The fight really will be decided against the cage. Can Usman land significant strikes with Woodley against the cage, or will Woodley be able to uncork that right hand? Interested to see how that plays out, and if Woodley will be hesitant if Usman will be hesitant to throw while Woodley is up against the cage because of the threat of the right hand. Now, Woodley, I think he's second most explosive fighter in the UFC along with Yoel. He just got his black belt after submitting Darren Till, and he really continually gets better, and I think as he gets older and more experienced, the harder he is to really finish. Now, Woodley's not young by any means. I think he's 36 or 34. But it just, the more experience he gets, the better he is, really. He's getting more championship experience, and he's learning really how to win fights in multiple ways. He can make it a boring fight. He can circle and pick his shots apart. Or he can do what he did to Darren Till and can really explode on you and can just show you why he is the welterweight champion. Because a lot of people before he beat Darren Till, they were saying, oh, Woodley's boring, Woodley's this, Woodley's that. I think Woodley really listened to what people were saying and was like, fuck this. I'm going to show the world what I really got. And he is one of the most talented fighters in the world, if not the most talented fighter, in all honesty. He's number 6 right now in the pound-for-pound rankings, but I think there can be an argument that he should be higher up in that. Now, Woodley is great at controlling the fight, which you usually see him doing in most of his fights, is just circling to the weak side and slowing the fight down and capitalizing on those mistakes. he will look to slow the fight down by circling. Woodley limits your strike by circling to the weak side, like I said, constantly. And then as soon as you make one little mistake, he'll lunge forward and knock you out with that right hand, or he'll expose you in some sort of way. If you leave your chin out, you will be in a load of shit. That's why I said Usman needs to stay tight. But anyways, that's why Till really got in trouble against Woodley, because he overextended, he left his chin open, and Woodley connected with that right hand, and it was all over from there. And Woodley really just has amazing timing on his striking overall, not just his right hand, but that right hand, he'll wait for you to make a mistake, he'll wait for you to overextend, and then he'll counter with it, and he will put you unconscious. So, honestly, this is a very good fight. I think that Woodley's going to be able to get the job done here. I don't know how. This could either be a really boring fight or a really fun fight, but it's all about if Usman's willing to engage with Tyron Woodley. So let's see if that happens. Not necessarily sure if Usman's going to be as aggressive as he usually is because of the threat of the counter from Woodley. And honestly, I don't see this one going to the ground because these two are both very good grapplers. I see this one standing on the feet, and I see both of them landing some significant strikes. But at the end, I just see Woodley winning this one. Either a 5-round unanimous decision or a second-round TKO or KO. Now the next fight. Jon Jones is not suspended anymore. Bum, 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 bum. We have Jon Jones versus Anthony Smith. Smith, really, since moving up to light heavyweight, has looked great. I mean, since he got knocked out by Thiago Santos at middleweight, which, by the way, Thiago Santos looking like a real threat to that light heavyweight division with that last win over Jan Blachowicz. But anyways, Anthony Smith has been on a 3-fight win streak. He's got 3 finishes in a row, actually, 2 of them being in the top 6 of that division. Volkan Ozdemir was currently number 2 when he was able to submit him. So he really has reinvigorated himself at light heavyweight, Anthony Smith. And I don't know how he ever made it to middleweight. If you look at him, he's a big guy. He's like 6'2", and he's got a thick frame. So I don't know how the hell he ever made that weight, but he's a veteran. He is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, which I thought was interesting. He's strong in the clinch, but not compared to Jones. I mean, Jones was so strong in the clinch. What he did against DC that first time, what he did against Gustafsson that second time, I mean, that was really it wasn't decided by the clinch, but as soon as Gustafsson and Zhang clinched up, you could just see a huge strength difference between Zhang and Gustafsson. And Gustafsson and Zhang are 2 of the biggest light heavyweights in the world. So I don't think that Anthony Smith's going to be able to capitalize in the clinch like he did with Rashad, where he landed that knee. I think Zhang will definitely get the better in the clinch there. He does leave himself open. He got clipped a bunch of times against Volkan. Now, Jon doesn't necessarily have that one-touch knockout power that Volkan Ozdemir has with his hands, but Jon can hit you with other things. He can hit you with kicks. He will, like you saw against DC, he hit him with that left high kick and knocked him out. And I think that he's going to capitalize on some of the mistakes that Anthony Smith makes, whether he overextends, whether he drops his hands. I just think Jon is going to be able to capitalize on that with a head kick. Now, when it comes to distance control, Smith likes to be aggressive. But the bottom line is this. Jon Jones, his leg kicks have gotten better and better and better. He'll throw that kick to the oblique. He'll throw that side kick to the knee. He really, in that last fight against Gustafsson, he throws so many leg kicks that it was really hard for Gustafsson to advance on Jones and to really get anything going. So I think that Smith, if he becomes aggressive and if he keeps moving in on Jon, Jon's just going to clip him with those leg kicks, and it's just going to wear him down. He's got to check those leg kicks because even when he fought Volkan Ozdemir, he didn't check them that much. I think Smith's going to want to make this one a brawl, and that's really his best chance to win, is to make this an ugly fight. But Jon doesn't ever really engage in brawls. Sure, we've seen him in some closer fights, like when he fought Rashad Evans. That was not, I wouldn't say a brawl, but it was a less technical fight out of Jon. But Jon just gets better with age. And I think really that Anthony's best chance is if he's able to clip Jon coming forward or if he submits him. But I think Jon's better than him on the ground, in all honesty. Even though Anthony Smith did submit Volkan Ozdemir, he's definitely no slouch on the ground. But really, if Jon wants to take Anthony Smith down, he can without really any threat. If Jon wants to throw some leg kicks and to really just pick him apart the whole night, he can. I don't see many ways for Anthony Smith to win this fight, and that's the big thing here. He can make it a brawl, but Jon Jones will make that really ugly if he decides to brawl and really decides to just not give a shit what he throws, because that's where you'll get into trouble with Jon Jones, is if you just make one mistake, Jon will capitalize it. He's just got so many tools, whether it's with his kicks or with his hands. He's constantly improving himself. And Jon's just the bigger guy, more athletic guy, and he's just got more effective techniques to throw than him. I just think that Jones is overall more well-rounded than him. Jon is the best fighter in the world, in my opinion. So I think it'll be a rough night for Anthony Smith, but you never know. The odds are far apart, and if you want to throw $100 on Smith, by all means, go for it. Fuck it. Why not? You never know what can happen. So, yeah, that's it for UFC 235. This should be an awesome card. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you for tuning in. And that's it, guys. Thank you.